It's funny you mentioned the youngsters there, Mario, because there are a lot of suggestions from Arsenal fans that maybe Mikel Arteta should be trusting the youngsters more, Emmanuel. Is that how you see as a solution?
No, but the problem is the Arsenal youngsters at the moment are not good enough. It's simple as that. Is Joe Willock good enough to be playing for Arsenal week in, week out? No. Is Nketiah good enough to be playing? No. I mean, the only player so far that's young and has been playing well is Saka. And, you know, with Saka at the moment also, you can't really put too much burden on him because he's a very young player. I feel like Arsenal, I remember when I was in the youth team, we had very young players. You know, we had very young and very good players. I remember we had like Coquelin, Wilshere, and very, very exciting players. But at the moment, when I look through the team and I'm looking at these youngsters, I don't really see any stars apart from Saka. I don't see any stars. And the problem is the youngsters are not good enough. And unfortunately, the senior players are not good enough. So at the moment, it's really, really difficult for Arsenal at the moment, whether you are looking for the experienced pros and also you are looking at the youngsters.
So what sort of solutions can you look at then? I mean, it is a dire situation that Arsenal's in, that Mikel Arteta's in, that they have to turn things around as soon as possible.
The only solution is getting players out. No disrespect, but players like Mustafi should have left a long time ago. You know, it's clear that he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. And unfortunately, this game of business, you know, it's either you're good enough for a certain team or you're not. And the players that Arsenal have at the moment, like Mustafi and Cedric that's coming, they are not good enough. They're not going to improve Arsenal. You understand? They're not going to improve Arsenal. So if they're not good enough, they have to be willing to let them go and bring in better players. The only way you can win games or climb up the table is buying better players. And buying better players and good players doesn't come cheap. So are the owners ready to invest in the team? I mean, when Ibrahimovic came to Chelsea, I mean, you can see where Chelsea went from where they were to where they are now. And it only happened by investment, by buying better players. So if Arsenal want to really climb up the table, they have to really invest in the team and buy better players. It's going to be as simple as that.
But do you think that the current... Yeah, Mario, continue.
You know what I also feel like is very important. You know, like you tapped into the young players, and Emmanuel tapped into them too. I said the same thing when it happened to Chelsea. They can bring in young stars and they can bring in young players. Like Emmanuel said, like some of them are not good enough, and I think he has a closer eye and a really focus on them. I love Saka. That's one of my key guys, and Emmanuel likes him too. But it's one of my key guys. Why? Because he looks so confident. He's got the speed. He's got the confidence. He dribbles the ball. He looks like he's ready to whatever comes towards him. But what I also feel is like sometimes the young boys complain about not getting the opportunity. But when they get the opportunity, they also got to remember to take it. So you saw a moment of him, you understand how he controls the ball and how he dribbles past people. Look how confident that kid looks on the ball. And I like football like that because football is based like that. It's down to a player that is willing to show more than what is expected from him. Because if you show the coach every week in and week out what he's asking you to do, and that's about it, then you're never going to be a special one. You're going to play maybe a couple of games and then you're out. Or you get a couple of opportunities and people will not fall in love with you like you want them to be. But when you play the game and you bring more than people expect, like he's scoring a goal, then you get something else. And that's why people come to the stadium and they roar you on. And that's, I think, why people are standing behind Saka.
Well, he is one of the bright sparks in what is quite a dark time for Arsenal. Does he remind you of anyone in your time, Emmanuel?
I think it doesn't really remind me of anybody. I mean, the only player that I can think of is Jack Wilshere, but then Saka is a different kind of player to Jack, because Jack was not the fastest of players, but he had unbelievable brain, Jack Wilshere. And it's really sad what's really happened to him, because honestly, up to today, I've never seen a young footballer as good as Jack Wilshere. You know, and unfortunately for Jack, you know, he's been injured, and that's what we're talking about. Look at the standard of youngsters. I mean, we can all remember when Jack Wilshere played for Arsenal as a youngster, and that was the kind of youngsters Arsenal were producing. And these days, we've gone from Jack Wilshere to Joe Willock. You know, there's a big difference. You know, normally Joe Willock and Maitland-Niles and Nketiah, normally 4 or 5 years ago, they wouldn't get on the Arsenal bench. But at the moment, they're getting opportunities to start games. And I'm not knocking them, but it just tells you where Arsenal are at the moment. You know, we've fallen off
Why do you think that is then? Why, as someone who was in the academy, why do you think there is such a huge gap between that production you're talking about and the current one?
Because players like Cazorla leaves, we bring in players like Ceballos who are not ready. Like, there's a big difference between Cazorla and Ceballos. There's a big difference between Ramsey and Willock. You understand? Normally, when you get rid of players, like, okay, for example, Aspilicueta is not playing, but look at Reece James. He's more than capable of playing in that position. I mean, he doesn't have the experience, but we can all appreciate the kid. He's a very good player. You understand? Look at Tammy Abraham. You can see the quality. Like Mario said, normally youngsters have been in that position. You say to yourself, I'm not getting the opportunity. I'm not getting the opportunity. But you have to be ready to take the opportunity once it's been given to you. And these Arsenal players, especially the youngsters, they keep getting opportunities, but they are not playing. They are not playing well. They are not playing well. They keep playing only because the other players, the senior players, are also not good enough for Arsenal. That's the problem, because normally, if the senior players are good enough, you will not care about the youngsters, because it will be the senior players playing all the time. You understand? So at the moment at Arsenal, the manager is in a very difficult situation because he doesn't know who to trust, because he can't trust the senior players, and the youngsters that Willock and Maitland Niles are also not good enough to play for him. So at the moment, I'm really worried about Arsenal, and the only way that we can solve the problem is by getting players out and bringing quality players in, like proven players, not unproven, like players like Pepe. I mean, Pepe, there was a big risk to Pepe, and obviously at the moment it hasn't paid off. But we need to bring in players who played in the Premier League, who have proven record, who can help Arsenal moving forward, and we need to move forward very, very fast.